In this video, I will show you exactly how to form Byzantium starting as Greece. The starting situation as Greece is pretty terrible. We start with bad technology, a basically non-existent economy, and an insanely weak military. But this will all change very soon. We're going to start off by researching stock exchange, lattes, and right after that, nationalism. We're going to build 2 logging camps in Athens, 1 iron mine in the Peloponnese, and right after that, we'll have all the required resources for a tooling workshop. That will cause us to have all the necessary resources to build a construction sector in Athens. Government-wise, we're going to add the rural folk and the armed forces into government, so that now we can start enacting dedicated police force. So the starting journal entry for Greece is Bivarocracy. This basically expresses the Greek people's discontent with a Bavarian as their monarch. We need to reduce Bavarocratic ire, because if Bavarocratic ire reaches 100, then King Otto will be overthrown, so I try to prevent this journal entry from triggering. The first thing that you can do is converting him to Eastern Orthodoxy. That will decrease the Bavarocratic ire progress from 5 a month to only 4 a month. And if we temporarily remove the landowners from government, we can also exile their leader, which is a German person. And for every German person that we unfortunately have in our country, we will gain progress on the Bavarocratic ire. So by exiling this leader, we'll get a Greek person in charge instead. So now we've already reduced Bavarocratic ire progress from +5 a month to +3 a month. We can further decrease this by seeking a royal marriage for our king. So now we've reduced it to only 2 a month, but we can further decrease this by having a university in our country. But actually, it counts as having a university in your country by just having it in your construction queue. So if you start building that, we're now only gaining 1 a month, and if we wait 1 year, we'll be able to retire that 1 Bavarian general that we have, so we'll be able to make no progress towards that 100. I also recommend using some of that influence to put down a couple of decrees, namely road maintenance in the Peloponnese and in Athens, social mobility in the Peloponnese and in Athens, and resource industry in the Peloponnese. We're also going to start improving relations with Russia, Great Britain, France. With our remaining influence, we're going to start improving relations with the Ionian Islands. If you're wondering why I'm doing that, it's because we have a decision to annex the Ionian Islands. That being, if we have 50 relations with Great Britain and with the Ionian Islands, that is basically all our initial setup, so now we can unpause. Oh, and more than a year has actually passed. That means we can actually retire this general, and now by getting rid of him, we've decreased the Bavarocratic ire progress even further. I guess we'll now have to get a different general. We actually passed dedicated police. The rural folk actually made a petition to enact racial segregation, so we're going to start enacting that. And if you're wondering why I'm waiting so long until I declare war on the Ottoman Empire, that is because if I wait until I have nationalism research, we get an event called the Megali idea, and we get a bunch of claims on Ottoman lands that will be very useful in our first war. And it looks like we finally got up to 50 relations with the Ionian Islands, so now we can take the decision to annex the Ionian Islands, the Treaty of London, and now we finally can annex that rightful Greek land. Have I mentioned that now we're actually losing progress on Bavarocratic ire, because now we own 4 Greek homeland states, since we annexed the Ionian Islands, which are actually their own province. So now we no longer have to really worry about this getting up to 100. The only tricky bit is now that to complete the journal entry, not only do we have to have less than 10 ire, we have to either be autocratic or democratic. Nice, and we passed racial segregation. And it looks like we can get the intelligentsia and the petite bourgeoisie into government. The reason I'm doing that is now we can start enacting elected bureaucrats. Oh no, we got the Hungry 40s event. Yay, and we unlocked nationalism. And because of researching nationalism, we get the Greek state event. This will give us the Megali idea journal entry. We can either go the more expansionist, aggressive path, or we can go the more friendly path. In essence, we get either 4 claims, 10 infamy, and harder conditions to complete the Megali idea journal entry, or easier requirements for the Megali idea journal entry. Now, you might think the easier one would be better, since you could complete the Megali idea journal entry with only 7 Greek homeland states instead of 15, but you will not be able to accept the option for the pursuit of the title of Eastern Rome, so if you choose the easier option, you won't be able to form Byzantium. Nice, so we passed elected bureaucrats. I was just about to declare war on the Ottomans, but then I realized that we couldn't get Russia on our side, since they have a truce with the Ottoman Empire for another 5 years. The Hungry 40s event is finished. Now our people will stop starving, thank goodness. So look, we just unlocked organized sports, so now we have the decision to revive the Olympic Games. This will give us a flat, permanent 100 prestige, so we're definitely going to take that. Now we're a major power, and we're making enough money to be able to afford a 3rd construction sector. Nice, and we passed laissez-faire. So I've beefed up my army just enough so that I feel ready to fight the Ottoman Empire for the very first time. And I'm going to declare this war for Conquer Thessaly, so I'm going to confirm this war. Okay, so right now it does not look like we can get the Russians on our side. If I add the Orthodox Church into government, and remove the intelligentsia just for a moment, we can now get the Russians on our side for Liberate Bulgaria. Before I get any other countries on my side, I'm going to first add all my war goals. We already added Return Thessaly. I'm also going to add Conquer Aydin, even though we don't have claim on that. That's because Aydin has coal, and coal is essential for any modern economy, which is why I'm going to be conquering Aydin. I think I'm going to add Return Macedonia. So I'm also going to add Return Eastern Aegean Islands, and with another 3 maneuvers we can get a bunch of money transfer from them. Now as soon as that food industry builds, I'm going to start mobilizing my troops and raising some conscripts. Okay, so we got the event for pursuing the title of Eastern Rome. We can either say Byzantium will be restored. This will slightly change the requirements for completing the Megali Idea journal entry, and we will get a whole 20 infamy. But the alternative is that we don't pursue the title of Eastern Rome, which will completely lock you out of forming Byzantium. And war with the Ottoman Empire is broken out. Let's hope we win. And the first battles are already being won. We've completely decimated the Ottoman army. We're up to 73% advantage on the front. Nice, and we passed wealth voting. So now it looks like we only have to pass one more law to complete the bureaucracy journal entry. And it looks like we've reached Constantinople. And it looks like the Ottomans are willing to accept peace. Peace at last. Nice, look how big we look now. We're very close to modern Greek borders. All we're missing is Western Thrace and Crete. And all of these new provinces are automatically incorporated due to the Return State Declaration. Wait a minute, we didn't get Aydin. So I reloaded to before the war ended, and it looks like somehow the war goal for the conquest of Aydin somehow disappeared. So I'm not quite sure what happened, but one suspicion would be in that Pursue the Title of Eastern Rome event, I chose the option to give me a claim on Aydin. So then what must have happened is the war goal for the conquest of Aydin was nullified since I actually had a claim on it, and you can't conquer a province that you have a claim on, you can only say return state. So unfortunately, the landowners petitioned to enact appointed bureaucrats, and I had no other choice than to start enacting it, which I successfully enacted. But now I'm going to start reenacting elected bureaucrats, and I'm really hoping that we'll be able to enact it this time. So I think the time is ripe for the second war against the Ottomans. This time we'll be getting Western Thrace, Aydin, and maybe even Eastern Thrace and Bithynia. So I'm going to confirm this war. It looks like we could get the Russians on our side for Liberate Bulgaria, the Austrians on our side for investment rights or an obligation. We have a whole 85 maneuvers, so I think I'm going to start off with the Austrians for an obligation. Nice, and it looks like Austria joined on our side. Before I do anything else, I'm now going to add my war goals. Since we already have Western Thrace, I'm going to go for Eastern Thrace, Aydin, and maybe even Crete. Before I do that, I'm going to get the 2 Sicilies on my side for an obligation. And with my last maneuvers, I'm going to go conquer Hudavendigar, and we're very close to 50 infamy, so I'm not going to add any more war goals until the very last second where I'm going to add some money transfer. And with my last 3 maneuvers, I'm going to transfer 6k a week to us. And war with the Ottoman Empire is broken out, and the first battles are already going well, and I'm going to set my troops along the main Greek front to advance. We should reach Constantinople very soon, and we've gained full control over Constantinople. The Ottomans should capitulate very soon. I'm now going to set my army group's strategic objective to Aydin, and our initial push into Anatolia is going well, and unfortunately we failed passing elected bureaucrats, and it looks like the Ottoman Empire is willing to accept peace. Peace at last. We now have full control of the coast of Western Asia Minor. We also have control over Constantinople and Western Thrace. Finally, rightful Greek borders. And it looks like we conquered it and we immediately got a Turkish national movement. Have I mentioned that we now have our precious supply of coal? I'm gonna queue up 6 coal mines. Also, we now have more than 10 million GDP and more than 1 GDP per capita. We actually now only need 3 more provinces to form Byzantium. Nice, and we passed elected bureaucrats. I'm also going to upgrade all my units to skirmish infantry, and we're making more than enough money for us to be able to afford a couple more construction sectors. And I want to start enacting public health insurance. Currently we have no health insurance, and I think I'm going to start with my conquests of Arabia. I'm going to start off with conquer Lahej, so I'm going to confirm this war. And war has broken out with Lahej. And it looks like we can get a 90% chance of Austria accepting a defensive pact with us. Since we are a great power, they don't have that much negative acceptance to a defensive pact with us. And I just gave them a couple of things, and now we can get a defensive pact. And it looks like the Austrians accepted. Oh, and Bulgaria became independent. We won the war in Lahej. I'm going to station this small army in Arabia so we can use that as a vantage point to go conquer some of the other super weak Yemeni nations. We can get a defensive pact with the Russians, as well as military assistance from them, and they are guaranteed to accept. If you're trying to replicate this and you see like a negative 200 modifier there, either because you are not a great power, or that your military is just too weak, I think I'm actually going to make this 25 years, since this will be eternally useful. This way, we'll be able to get the Russians on almost every war on our side, so let's see if they accept. Nice, and the Russians accepted our treaty. So now, unlike previously, the Russians will most likely not join on the Bulgarian side if we decided to invade them. I'm not going to declare this war just yet, but I am going to declare it very soon. Have I mentioned that now we can get the Constitutional Party into government? The reason I want to do this is because now we can start enacting freedom of conscience without radicalizing any of our interest groups too much, because all of them will have roughly zero approval, so we're going to start enacting this. Now that we're also building railways, you have to subsidize your railways. That's how you lose in Victoria 3, not subsidizing your railways, because railways don't tend to be a very profitable building, and I think it would be pretty cool if we moved our capital to Constantinople. The first time since 1453, the rightful Greek nation has control over that historic Greek city, so let's move our capital over there. Sorry, Turkish people. And due to the Russian journal entry with the Circassian refugees, we're getting a ton of Circassians in Constantinople. Oh my god, we got 2 revolutions at once. The Turks want to secede in Bithynia and in Ionia, and the radicals want to secede in Athens. It does not look like now is the right time to invade Bulgaria, since Austria and Russia have both cuddled up to Bulgaria quite a bit, even though we have a defensive pact, so we're not going to invade them just yet. Both of these revolutions have been stuck at 84 and 79% respectively. I wish they would just disappear. It's really getting quite annoying. If we declared on the Ottomans right now, we have a great chance of Russia and Austria joining on our side. So I think this is what I'm going to do in just a moment. Nice, and we passed freedom of conscience. On another note, now I'm going to start enacting public schools. It's also pretty cool that we now have the world's 11th largest navy, and we passed public schools, and it looks like we got an event of the Anti-Ottoman League demanding that we start a war against them. I will agree to this. I was going to declare war on the Ottomans soon anyway, but now that we got the lobby demand, I'm going to do this for sure. It looks like we're guaranteed to get the Russians on our side, even though we might be technically able to take them on our own. But I'm just going to confirm this war anyway. And we can sway the Russians for conquer Kars from the Ottomans. So let's see if they accept. Then the Russians joined on our side. I'm also going to conquer Albania and North Macedonia. And with our last couple of maneuvers, I'm going to add conquer Crete. My god, we have a lot of infamy. We're going to have to chill for quite a while after this war. And war has broken out with the Ottoman Empire. And the first battles are already being won. And I'm also going to send some units to go navally invade Crete. And the Turkish national movement disappeared. And we are having some trouble on the Eastern Front. And the Ottomans' war score is already below 0, and it looks like the Ottomans are willing to accept peace. Peace at last. We now also have control over Albania, North Macedonia, Crete, and Cyprus. Now these are some beautiful Greek borders. We could also buy the Suez Canal if we wanted to. Now the only province we're missing from forming Byzantium is northern Thrace. I really should have invaded them before Russia really cuddled up to them. And there you have it. Now we're at 75 legitimacy, which means that we now fulfill all of the requirements for bureaucracy. There we go, civilize or king of the Hellenes. And it looks like King Otto has now established himself as rightful ruler. Now we can either choose between education-related buffs or military-related buffs. Feel free to take whichever one you like, because both are good, but I think I'm going to take the one for the military modifiers, since we're going to be at war a lot. So it turns out the Bulgarians are no longer as close to Russia as they had previously been, which means that if we declared for investment rights and then only later added the war goal, the Russians would most likely not join against us. But to diminish any possible chance of Russia joining on Bulgaria's side, I'm going to make a couple of treaties with Russia that should hopefully make them like us a little bit more. Now, unlike previously, the Russians are even less likely to join on the Bulgarian side, and due to that fact, I'm now going to declare war on the Bulgarians. and it looks like the Ottomans joined on the Bulgarian side. This is very unfortunate. I am going to call in the Austrians, but because the Russians hate the Austrians, it's probably a better idea to wait until the Russians declare neutrality. So I'm now going to call in the Austrians for an obligation. And now I'm also going to add my war goal for Conquer Southern Bulgaria. I'm also going to add Conquer Trebizond as a war goal. There. Unfortunately, we now have a lot of infamy. So I'm now going to mobilize my units and send them to the front. And war has broken out with Bulgaria. Let's hope we win. And it looks like Bulgarian war support is already -50. They should capitulate very soon. And it looks like Bulgarian war support is already -50. They should capitulate very soon. And Bulgaria capitulated. Now we finally have control over northern Thrace. All that's left to do is to win the war against the Ottomans. And since the war in the Balkans has been fully won, I'm going to go send my troops over to Anatolia. And we've gained full control over their capital, Ankara. Their war support is already going below 0, and it looks like the Ottomans are willing to accept peace. Nice, peace at last. Look how big we are now, but let us not get sidetracked. We can now finally form Byzantium. We have accepted the proposal to pursue the title of Eastern Rome. We have control of all of the 12 required Byzantine states. We haven't yet completed the Megali idea, but that's not so important. So now you can click the button. The Purple Phoenix. Rome will rise again. We get prestige and claims on the entirety of the Balkans and Anatolia. This is great. Oh, and look at that beautiful purple color that we are now. All that's left is to complete the Megali idea journal entry, and all we have to do to complete that is get out of debt, so I'll see you in a moment. And now, finally, after a lot of hurdles, we finally meet all the requirements for the Megali idea journal entry. Byzantium rises again. This is the event that you get if you complete the Megali idea journal entry. We can either get bureaucracy, authority, and legitimacy, or prestige and legitimacy. I think I'm going to take the first option. And there you have it. We've completed the Megali idea journal entry. We've formed Byzantium. Unfortunately, there was no achievement for it. And if you'd like me to do a part 2, where I complete the Balkan League journal entries, then let me know in the comments. Thanks for your attention, and now go watch this video about how to form Yugoslavia in Victoria 3.